Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Permission to board, please.
Permission to come aboard. Permission to board.
Permission to board.
Do I have some permission to board that sweet mothership?
This is the Permission Granted podcast. Here's DA.
All right, welcome inside Permission Granted podcast 101. Glad you're with us. The historic number 100 is in the books. As you know, you can always subscribe to us by going to our very own podcast feed on iTunes for this PGP. Just search Permission Granted Podcast, subscribe for free. Also available on the regular DA Show podcast and online, DAOnCBS.com. And now that we enter into a historic second 100 episodes, we bring in the dictator himself, Mraz. What's going on, big man?
What is going on? I'm pumped up here.
Why is that?
Well, we're about to hit August, which means as far as sports talk radio goes, we have football teams reporting to training camp, which means we're finally at what feels like the longest dead period we've had in years.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way. I thought there was actually stuff going on.
Oh, I disagree.
On a daily basis, even in the sports abyss.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, I know that it wasn't anything
sexy,
earth-shattering.
I mean, you had Kevin Durant. After Kevin Durant left and until Chris Sale cut up a uniform, I mean, what were we talking about here?
I thought there were little stories, B stories, but a lot of B stories.
Plenty of B stories.
Yeah, maybe not an A story, but plenty of Bs.
See, I'm looking for A's.
Yeah, I'm looking to just meat and potato my way through a drive.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna dink and dunk in July.
Well, listen, I want to say this. I think that you did dink and dunk in the days that you were actually doing your show, the DA show, where I could, be with you. I feel like we had really good shows with limited to talk about.
So I'm talking about.
I'm not saying the shows stunk.
No.
I'm just saying from a sports talk perspective, it gets a little less stressful when, stories are right in your face when football starts.
This is a hard turn around the bend for me because once you hit August 1, you're on the backside of the summer.
Right.
And that's hard for me. There are two benchmarks of the summer that I love. And it's because they are relatively stress-free and you're on the front side of the summer. Number one, Memorial Day.
Oh, who doesn't love it? First time you really smell those hot dogs?
You know that you have the full brick of the summer calendar in front of you, right? And so anything up until this point has not been wasted time, wasted weekends, wasted opportunities. You've got the brick of the summer in front of you.
No doubt.
Second one, July the 4th.
Oh,
because now you know that you're in the heart of the summer. You're going to get only good weather, relatively speaking. It's going to be mostly lake days or water days or beach days or pool days for the next 60. And again, even if there's been a wasted weekend or a wasted sunny day, you've got a good full 2 months.
Really? Right, I agree. I don't know why I said really, but right, I agree.
Once you hit August 1, you know that you've made the turn. And
right.
You know that at this point you are counting weekends. And we've all done it. We're starting to count weekends. It's like 5 weekends now until Labor Day. 4 weekends now until September. And I hate that because now, everything, the pressure's now on in August. You better get it in now. So I would rather take the dog days of summer news-wise, knowing the optimism of the full summer is still ahead.
I have always, always, always considered myself a summer guy.
Yeah.
As far as anything, I don't want to wish the summer away for football. And I know I might have sounded like that at the beginning. I was strictly talking about from a work perspective, from a lifestyle perspective.
Yeah.
There is nothing better. I love waking up on a weekend morning. All right, let's go to the beach today. Let's go hang by the pool today. Or any morning before work, I'm going to go hang in the pool for a little bit. When it hits October, through whatever, it ends up being, I'm going to sleep a little more because it's gloomy out. I'm going to sit there and watch movies all day. I don't like that. I prefer being out and about in the summer. So
You're
yes,
an active guy.
It might not look it, but I am. I am an active guy. So I do agree with you that, yes, as we hit August, it is a sad turn. But I often wonder, for those who love summer but hate football, you must really be depressed, come mid-September.
If you hate football?
Yeah, because that's our carrot, right? So, summer ends and it stinks.
Yeah.
But at least, we're sitting there with beers and we love football for the next, foreseeable future.
Yeah.
If you don't like football, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I suppose if you just love baseball, it's the baseball world, playoffs and World Series.
Yeah, but even weather, like, that's it? I mean, do you look forward to anything in life? Do you have any reason for getting up in the morning?
All right, number 2, PGP number 100 in the books. Did you get any feedback from listeners, anybody about it?
I would say at least, and maybe it's sad that I can count this. Maybe it's not a good thing. Maybe it is a good thing. I had at least 3. It could be more like 4 or 5. Tell me, excellent job bringing up those clips, hysterical. Even some really positive feedback on the, if you will, the little back and forth when we were mentioning Jada Diamond,
Yes.
what she was referencing and the way we went about it. I had one person tweet me and say that was the funniest moment. Us talking about that moment was the funniest moment of PGP history.
Is that right?
Which is ironic because we're doing a podcast
about the history.
About the history of the PGP with the great moments. And while we're talking about a great moment, this person claims we came up with now the greatest moment of the PGP, which I found interesting.
Well, that is very heartening. I'm very happy to hear that because I didn't hear from anybody, but I was off for the bulk of the time that the PGP 100 was going to be released because we released it Thursday morning, right, or Wednesday night?
Wednesday night. So obviously, with you being away and stuff like that, it was kind of a weird drop of a PGP, if you will, because us naturally would have been nice to talk about PGP 100 on the show itself.
Right. But then I was off Thursday, Friday, and then into the weekend. So I'm glad you got it because I didn't get any feedback on it. I didn't know how it was received.
I'll say this. Since we have made the transition to Play.it for our Permission Granted podcast, I noticed myself in particular, and maybe you could speak to this, but getting a lot more Twitter reaction as far as the Permission Granted podcast was than we ever did when we first launched it and stuff, which, I mean, I think it's natural with time. You're going to get more listeners to it. But I do coincide it with going to Play.it. It made it look a lot more official than it was. It really took it to the next level. And now I find myself getting a lot of Twitter interaction because of it.
Okay, very good. My guess is my interaction on Twitter and on social media is going to be largely about the show, stuff that I said on the show. So I'm glad to hear your interaction will probably be largely what the PGP is.
Right, exactly, because I'm there, I'm doing this with you, and then I'm hosting the side B of it, so that's like my nook and cranny, if you will.
Your nook and your cranny.
My nook and my cranny.
So that's good. Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. I don't know about now 101 going forward. I think I'd like to sprinkle in a few non-show guests.
Okay.
But not every week.
Okay. You tell me what you're looking for, when you're looking for it. Uncle Shawnee will do what he can do.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Number 3. Came back from Saratoga this week. My annual trip to Saratoga.
You went opening weekend?
Went opening weekend, which meant it was nutso. Opening day was this past Friday. I took off Thursday to get up there on Thursday. It's about a 3-hour drive from New York City. Me and a bunch of guys go out. We rent a house, go to the track every day. I have 2 of my friends from college who are total horse betting degenerates, okay? They wake up early in the morning and they spend copious amounts of time and coffee breaking down the betting guide and stats. They're
classic.
They're watching old races.
Oh, come on.
I'm not joking. I wake up. The rest of us wake up. There's usually 4 or 5 guys in the house. The other half of the house wakes up, goes down for breakfast at like 10 in the morning, 9 in the morning, whatever. And they've already been up for 3 hours and they're watching YouTube highlights of previous races to see what jockeys do. I mean,
that's insane.
It's totally insane. It's a whole different world. And their whole thing is they want to win the pick 6. It's not about winning individual races for $20 here, $15 here, $80 here. They want to win life-changing money.
The granddaddy of them all.
Yeah. So if I went up there and I wanted to bet, which I've done before, I look through the horses.
You pick a name you like, maybe.
A name I like. Maybe there is an odds I like. Maybe I just have an inkling about something. I know a little bit about the racing form, but not much. And you go up, you throw $5 here, $10 there, $20 there, and that's it.
That's it. Winner, trifecta, super. You can figure something like that out.
Right. And if you win, to me, if I win $100 over the course of the weekend, great. If I come out positive, great.
Right. You had fun. You won a little money. That's great. Good weekend.
These guys want to win life-change hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so
I can't build an empire, so I'm watching YouTube videos of jockeys.
So they're talking in code that I can't understand, tongues I can't understand. To me, and the rest of my buddies that don't have this inclination to bet, Saratoga is a beautiful place. It's an old school upstate New York town. It's gorgeous this time of year.
It's like going to Wrigley Field for racing.
Yes, it's 150 years old in terms of a racetrack, so there's history there. There's just great grounds. You're allowed to stock your own cooler and bring it in as long as there's no glass. You bring it in, you sit around, you bring your beach chairs or your lawn chairs, you just sit around, you BS all day, you throw a few dollars here and there, and it's great. Great people watching as well because there are girls that are in their like big sundresses.
Dressed up like they're going to the Kentucky Derby.
Guys in suspenders and, you know.
Pump the brakes and put on a pair of shorts.
So it's really, really fun. I really love it, and that's why we do it every single year. But this year they took, the horse degenerates took it to the next level because apparently there was something called a carryover and then a triple carryover. I believe it was a triple carryover, which means all of the money that was invested in the Pick Six course-wide rolled over to the next day because there were no winners.
Nobody won.
And then I think it rolled over again. If it didn't roll over twice, it at least rolled over
So
once.
basically they're playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire by the end of the weekend.
So it was huge. And but they ran out of investing money. They ran out of their own money.
Oh, no.
So they were trying to hit me up and the guys, we usually go, okay, if you're going to spend all day betting and you're going to go over all the stats and the horses and everything, and we
owe you a little something because you're giving us tips.
Yeah. So here's $20. It usually was like $20 a day. That to me, that I call it my my bed tax.
There.
Right, my bed tax. You take $20 a day. Tell me what you want to bet on. Then they started upping the ante. Then we lost every single day. Okay, but I only lost $20 a day.
Right.
They lost way more than that, and it kept building and kept building and kept building over 4 days.
So they lost life-changing money.
So by the final night, which was Saturday night going into Sunday. I think Saturday night into Sunday, then Sunday to Monday. I came back Monday morning. They were really pressing on us hard. Like, hey, could you throw us a little bit more cash?
Oh,
hey,
no.
we need a little bit more money. Hey. So at one point.
That's like just feeding somebody with a problem into their problem.
So they were looking for $50 investment from everybody. And they also have so many bets, right, going within this thing that they spend about 20 minutes at the thing putting in one bet.
Oh.
It's like sequences and notebooks, and it's insane.
It's like a giant equation.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. It's like that movie with Jim Carrey where he's writing all the numbers.
The number 23?
Number 23.
Right.
Or A Perfect Mind.
Oh, okay.
A Beautiful Mind. With Russell Crowe.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You never saw that.
No, I did not.
Okay,
so I'm just rolling with the punches here.
You're right. You're silent, so very obviously you're not.
No, all right. I gave you the yeah. Let's get with the story here.
So
Gladiator?
Saturday night, I've had a few beers, obviously. We've all had a few beers, and we're having a great time, right? And also,
of course, it's vacation.
It should be noted that the restaurants and bar scenes are great because it's like old school restaurants, been around for a long time.
And everything's very walkable.
Yeah, it's all like a little downtown. Then there's like a bar scene, which is like a block and a half or so, but everybody is out there. It's pretty insane. So we're having a great time. Everyone's having a great time. And so it's just like, hey, we're on vacation. Well, what we call the investors, right? The big
right.
wigs. They really start pressing. They're like, hey.
While you're out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Throw me $50. $40. $50. Do you know how big this? And at some point,
and they're waiting till you guys to get drunk enough so you just give
Exactly.
them money and shut up.
And at some point, I said, probably because I had a few cocktails or a few beers with me, I said, you know what? I see right through this. I see what you're doing. This is a shakedown. And for the rest of the weekend, it was known as the Shakedown Artists. They were shaking us down. Inevitably, they got to us.
You gave in?
We gave in.
Oh.
And they lost again.
So they just lost all that money.
So then
you guys are spineless for giving in.
So
let's be fair.
So then on the carryover, we were out. We're like, no, not anymore. You lost all weekend. You lost all my money all weekend, and you've shook me down. No, it's not going to happen. They wanted the next day, so then they started calling all of our friends that weren't at the track.
To try to get them a little Western Union situation?
Yes. So they're emailing our other friends. They're calling family members.
How annoyed would you be getting that email? Hey, I'm up in Saratoga. I think you might not be interested in this.
They even shook down friends of mine who have young children saying this is for their education.
Oh, no.
And they lost again.
And
they're shakedown artists.
They shook down the people the people the children bit and lost their money.
Yeah.
These guys can't ever go back to Saratoga with you again. What are they doing?
They're going to go back to for Travers Week, and I'm sure they're still up there. They go up there for the whole week.
How do they have any money left?
I don't know. I don't think they do. I think they're looking for investors.
Now they're probably to the point where they're walking around the track every day asking people to invest in them.
Shakedown artists.
That's unheard of.
They're shakedown artists.
You know, after a while, I'd laugh and laugh and laugh, but at some point, you got to get fed up, right?
That's it. I'm out.
Like, guys, seriously, enough's enough.
The problem is they have enough. They have enough credibility within the circle because they are putting in all of this work. I mean,
Right.
Well,
have you won with them in the past?
3 years ago, I won maybe $150 or something.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of credibility there. But now we're going on two
Dry spells.
Oh yeah, 2 full years.
So
just losses.
So
they're 0 for 2 years.
Next year, will the play be going in, guys? We're not doing the shakedown thing. What you get is what you get.
Shakedown.
Or are they going to go throw it back in your face like, well, odds say that we're going to hit this year because we've been dry for a couple of years.
I don't know. What do you do?
I would get anxiety thinking about that.
I don't think I'm going to invest again. Maybe I'll invest $10 a day just to let them know. Yeah, I get it. You're putting in the work. Slip you 10, but I'm not going at $50, $60, $70.
You're on a 1 year prove it deal now.
Now
I'm going to give you the $10.
They're on the franchise tag.
Right, exactly. They're on the franchise tag. If you go out there and you prove it this year, next year, you know what? Maybe I'll be a little more all in.
There was one big, 2 big takeaways from this past Saratoga. There was no running with Francesa. That became public news.
Though he did lead his show Friday with Saratoga.
Well, he's a huge horse bettor. He loves Saratoga. He's the mayor of Saratoga. People love him up there.
He had the nerve. I'm listening Fridays. I drive in. It's opening day at Saratoga. First words out of his mouth. When you think Saratoga, you think football season. This is a staple. And he goes, it's on everybody's mind today. He had the nerve to say it's on everybody's mind today. Mike, what are you talking about? The whole metropolitan area is thinking about Saratoga today? Are you nuts? Yankees buyers, sellers? You have the nerve to say it's on everybody's mind today?
Mets are trying to desperately hang in the playoff race. The Yankees are selling Aroldis Chapman with $1 million others.
Patrick still hasn't signed with the Jets, but on everybody's mind is, Seabiscuit versus, who knows, upstate.
So he's a icon up there. But the Daily News wrote about how he and I had a little run-in because the tiff, because last year we had Initials Gate, and then we saw each other at Saratoga.
Initials Gate's a year ago here.
Yeah. So everyone's been asking me, did you run into Francesa again? No. Didn't run into him. Number 2, though, we had been bringing a carrying cooler, no wheels. So we would, fill the cooler with a beer, put it on ice, carry it in. We finally got smart because it was kind of backbreaking with this huge cooler. Of course. We got the wheels.
Oh, the wheels are so key.
Went to Target, got the wheels, picked up 2 things. 1, cooler with the wheels. 2, a sprinkler. I set up the sprinkler in the front yard because it was 95 degrees every day.
So in the house that you rented, you set up the sprinkler, and you're running through it like children?
Outside of the front yard. Didn't run through it like children. Set up some lawn chairs outside. When it got a little too hot, stuck your foot in there. A little breeze. A little cool off.
You know what? You should have upped it. You should have bought a slip and slide.
You know what? We almost did.
Oh!
We almost did, but we didn't know how big the lawn was.
Right.
And I haven't done a slip and slide in a long time. You don't know.
It's true. You know what? A few drinks.
Yeah, a few drinks, and now you're in your late 30s. Something
Something pops.
Something gets burnt loose.
And we got 3 more days of Chris Moore.
But the sprinkler was huge because everyone could cool down a little bit.
That's a smart purchase.
But the cooler with wheels, I can't encourage people enough. If you have barbecues, picnics, you're going out to see fireworks, you're going out to the track, you're going out to the beach, whatever it is, carrying the cooler, you don't realize how your life changes once you can wheel the cooler.
You will watch at my block party coming up this Saturday. If you sit there and people watch, how many people walk down the block rolling coolers? Everybody who comes rolls coolers. It's unbelievable.
It's great. I mean, that's one of the great American inventions.
Better than a light bulb, I'd say.
I say it's Model T 1, I think, light bulb 2, probably coolers 3 with the coolers with the wheels 3.
I see. I'd go that 4. Toilet paper has to be 3.
Did we invent toilet paper, though? I don't know that.
Well, we'd have to. What do you think? It grew?
No, but it could have been another country.
No, toilet paper's got to be American. You think the Japanese invented toilet paper?
I don't know that, but who knows? I mean, it's not like we were the first ones with toilets.
Scott. Think of Scott. The name Scott's American.
It could be Irish. Scott's Lawn Care.
Was Scott's Lawn Care from Ireland?
Scottish.
Scottish? Is Scottish in Ireland? Scotland in Ireland? Or is Scotland a separate country?
Separate country.
But it's close to Ireland.
Oh, yes.
United Kingdom?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, I got that right.
There you
That
go.
should count as a point towards the geography bee. All right. All right.
Yeah. So bonus credit on the geography bee. So
I appreciate it.
and probably like pizza rolls is like number 4.
Yes, but remember, if you bite too hard and they're too hot, a squirt in the eye won't hurt.
That's no question. So there you go, PGP number 101, and we are tracking now. Later in the summer when I'm out again, we'd like you to fill in for the DA show, and I'm in for Doug next month.
We got to get rolling on these monologues here. Maybe
Yeah.
do something this week.
3 thick minutes.
3 thick minutes. Let's go. I'm ready to go. I got a little pep in my step this week. I'm ready to go.
Okay, very good. There you go. Side B is coming with the PGP. And you can always subscribe for free. Go to iTunes or search DA on CBS.com for our website, and it's available there.
Welcome into Side B of the Permission Granted podcast. We haven't had a Side B now in a couple weeks because last week we did the clip show, if you will, the PGP 100. This is PGP 101, like the Dalmatians, if you will. Joe D'Aloisio joins us on the Side B. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's amazing to be back on the PGP.
Is it amazing to go back as I try to alter my headphones here on live podcasting, if you will? And yes, I am Mraz. I didn't intro myself because
You really did a crappy job introing me as well, so you may want to start over.
Okay, we're going to start over and keep this in 1, 2, and 3. This is PGP 100, like the Dalmatians. Welcome into Side B. I'm your executive producer, Sean Mraz.
Stop.
Why?
It's 101, not 100, you doofus.
I just said 100?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's not 100 Dalmatians either.
Okay, coming down in 3, 2, and 1. Alrighty, welcome to Side B of the Permission Granted podcast. This is Permission Granted podcast 101, like the Dalmatians. I've been working on that joke for a while. This is Mraz, the executive producer of the DA Show, joined by Jolton Joe D'Aloisio, the associate producer of the DA Show. Joe, how are you?
What's going on, big guy?
Great, man. That was a great intro, right?
That was great. Yeah.
I really love that intro. Well, there's a lot we have to cram in here into Side B. A lot. Before I get to, and I want to let everybody know, because this show has taken everybody by storm the last 3 weeks. I mean, Twitter is lit up. I know everybody was big Game of Thrones fans, Walking Dead fans, but those are shows that go series after series, and a lot of people either wait for them all to be over to binge watch or whatever. But there is a quote-unquote limited series on HBO right now called The Night Of. It's kind of like a murder mystery type of show. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you check it out. If you have seen it, stay tuned for, if you will, the second half of Side B here in a little bit, and I will let you know, for those who haven't seen the show, maybe if you want to, tune out.
Yeah, this will definitely be a spoiler, so if you haven't watched it, you may want to watch it before listening to this second half.
But something tells me, based off of Twitter and even responses I've gotten tweeting about it, and I'm sure as you as well, that a lot of our listeners are into the show, as this seems to be the craze right now. It kind of has taken, Pokemon went for about 2 weeks there, if you will. And while people are still playing Pokemon, this has become the new Twitter craze. Everybody's talking about is this show The Night Of. So we're going to get to that in just a second. We're going to discuss theories, the whole deal. Anywho, this past weekend, former CBS Sports Radio member, and if you currently listen to the DA show in its new time slot, or not new time slot, the one that's been on for the last 2 years, the show that was on before this in the first 2 years of CBS Sports Radio was Mojo, hosted by Chris Moore and Brian Jones. Their executive producer was Noodles, Adam Gracia, who, congratulations to him, got married this past Saturday. And a bunch of us from CBS Sports Radio, including Joe, including Chris Moore, like I mentioned, along with Chris Lopresti, Mike Samter, Andrew Bogus, Tom DeCelestino. These are names, if you listen to CBS Sports Radio, you have
forgot
heard.
one of the biggest names who's been a member of
James Ward?
No, Jay Berman.
Jay Berman and James Ward, both part of the DA
Yeah, I
show.
forgot
were there.
about James, too.
Boy, they're both parts of the Permission Granted podcast. We were all there. We all had a great time. It was in New York City, Chelsea Piers. I mean, a real hoity-toity wedding. And Joe, you've mentioned this. Great time, and we would be not doing our jobs if we didn't congratulate Adam here on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like you said, congrats, Adam and Stacy. This wedding was unbelievable and definitely, easily, one of the best weddings I've ever been at.
I mean, it had it all. The cocktail hour was unbelievable. For those of you who love eating, talking about my food exploits, let me just break down a couple things from there real quick. They had these short rib sliders that were almost on garlic knot type of rolls, if you will. It had this sauce that almost made it taste like it was a meatball. On the bottom was a pickle, which I wasn't crazy about because I'm not a pickle eater. I picked that off. But man, was that so good when it hit in your mouth, and had this sirloin at a carving station melted in your mouth.
The short rib was very moist.
Oh,
it went
so
down
moist.
smooth.
Oh.
And like you said, I didn't understand why the pickle was there. I think that they just added the pickle to make it fancier than it had to be.
Right, which a lot of these places tend to do. No need to go extra fancy.
I mean, everything was. How about the mozzarella, man? That thing.
Say that
melted.
again for us, Joe.
Mozzarella. That melted in your mouth. That was fresh. That was no polio, cheap brand mozzarella.
That would be polio.
Polio.
No, polio's a disease. Polio is a mozzarella.
Polio cheese.
Yes.
See, I don't have the fake stuff, so I'm not used to it.
This was real though,
This was as real as it could get.
and
man.
fantastic.
Delicious.
Oh, and those they had these potatoes with a carving station which featured a sirloin, as I just mentioned, as salmon. I didn't touch the salmon
Me
because I didn't want salmonella. You know what I mean? It wouldn't set well with the alcohol.
Swing and a miss.
Okay. Well, anywho, they had these potatoes. They were like giant garlic fries. Oh.
They were like steak fries.
Oh.
They
yeah.
were so good, perfectly salted.
Perfect.
You didn't have to add anything to them.
Right.
And how about another thing in the cocktail hour that was absolutely phenomenal? The little baked ziti.
Oh, they had a lot of these places when you go to cocktail hours, especially in the Northeast, they do the baked ziti, the penny alla vodka, and it's like a tray, and they'll put a little on there. These were individual baked pans worth for everybody. So almost like a little deep dish pizza of pasta, if you will. Very mini, but they were delicious. It had all the sauces and the crustiness. Woo, darling.
I'll tell you what, I buried about 3 of those.
Oh, they were so good. And, not to ramble on too much about food, but for dessert later on, they had a chocolate chip cookie souffle.
Which I found out later in the evening I almost didn't get to enjoy because your fat ass and Chris Moore was about to take it.
We were, because you would take it too long to get to your dessert, and it was that good.
I don't know where I was at that point of the night.
Oh. At the end of the night, also, the place made house-made pizza and gave everybody individual slices and boxes on the way out the door, which I thought was great.
Great idea. I've actually never seen that before, so big thumbs up on that. My pizza ended up in the back of the cab that I took.
Well, yes, me and Joe and my wife all got in the same cab leaving the wedding to head to our various train stations. Because in New York City, obviously, it's a big rail hub. If you didn't get a hotel, you're obviously not driving because we're drinking and all that deal. So there's all rails that go to all parts of the tri-state area. Joe had to head upstate, so his train was at Grand Central Station, famed Grand Central Station. I had to head out to Long Island on the Long Island Railroad. So we had to go our separate ways once. They dropped me at the cab. Joe went one way, and apparently he left his pizza somewhere.
Yeah, I think I remember biting into it, and then I just threw the slice on the floor, which is very rude of me to do. I'm going to be honest, I was a little nervous for my cab ride alone to Grand Central because I was in no state.
I knew you'd be okay. I had already paid the cabbie for my portion.
I was very nervous. I mean, this guy could have took me anywhere, and I would have had no idea.
Thankfully, he didn't. Now, we just talked about food, but we have to get to the main portion of the night, and something memorable that I think CBS Sports Radio listeners will enjoy happened at this wedding. Something unheard of, something unseen of, okay? And let's just put it this way. Chris Moore, who has filled in for the DA show numerous times. Our listeners know Chris Moore very well. He's always got the jokes. He's always, a lot of the jokes get played out, but we love Chris for that.
A lot of the same jokes.
His wife recently had back surgery, so she couldn't make the drive all the way down from Connecticut. So Chris Moore shows up to this wedding stag, okay? Which means there's nobody there to lasso him in when he gets out of control. He's enjoying cocktails. He's having a blast. He's dancing with bridesmaids. He's dancing with everybody's wives. He's, doing his Rodney Dangerfield impersonations, his Phil Rizzuto impersonations. I mean, anything you've heard Chris Moore do on the radio, throw alcohol in the mix and throw nobody there to reel him in and just understand what's happening here.
It was a perfect storm.
Perfect storm. So anywho, we're all at a CBS Sports Radio table, if you will. We got put in the table the closest to the exit, which, by the way, was no mistake. We were put, so they could usher us out if they had to.
And if you remember when Chris Moore was filling in, we were discussing the wedding. And I did say, I guarantee you we are the furthest table away from all the action, closest to the exit.
Exactly. And we were. So anyway, the thing about this wedding, if I had to pick one downside to the wedding, too many speeches and too long per speech. Now, a lot of times you go to a wedding, you get a bridesmaid, a best man, maybe a parent will speak. This one had 5 total speeches, okay? You had the father of the bride gave a very nice poem, very long speech. You know, daddy's little girl. I get it, okay? She had her maid and matron of honor give speeches. All right, gets a little dragged out. They take a little intermission, if you will. They get back to dancing, the whole deal. During dinner now, after we've already been a little restless with the first 3 speeches, they trot out the 2 best men who are each going to deliver speeches. As this is going on, I happen to be sitting right next to Chris Moore. He breaks into his Rodney Dangerfield impersonation, basically re-saying everything the best men are saying, if you will. Ho, hey, ho. You know, it's not a good Dangerfield, but picture Chris Moore doing it. He's doing the whole thing. Finally, the father of the bride, who we mentioned who had an earlier speech, turns to our table because he couldn't really pick out who was doing it. Gives a quick shush the first time. Shh. Okay. Chris Moore doesn't hear it. I mean, it's loud, whatever he's doing. I'm cracking up. I have a few drinks in me. Goes back to the well. The father of the bride now turns to Jay Berman, who's sitting closest to him, and Mike Samter, the producer, Tegan Tierney, and yells, "Shut the bleep up," right at him in the middle of the speech. Everybody turns around. Chris Moore is not shutting up after this, and Mike Samter takes it upon himself now to basically start yelling at Chris, but doing like the yell while you're whispering, like, "Chris, shut up. Shut up."
Like trying to be like a mom, pretty much.
And Chris Moore now, in retaliation to Samter yelling, is doing more Dangerfield at him, going, "Hey, ho, don't yell at me, ho." I could not stop laughing. It was the funniest moment I've ever seen at a wedding. Samter and Chris Moore basically almost coming to blows because the father of the bride almost came to blows.
Yet the father of the bride despised every single one of us
and
by
he
the
had,
end of the night.
and he had said hello to all of us early on. He did not talk to us the rest of the wedding. In fact, when Chris Moore went to dance with Grassi, his wife, the father's daughter, obviously, the father got right out on the dance floor, boxed Chris out, and wanted no part of it. So, I mean, really, just the biggest takeaway from this wedding is Chris Moore, while his wife is basically on bed rest, is out of control at a wedding, and I really think he should be hired to do these things.
Now, if I ever get married or decide to get married, Chris Moore will be a part of the bachelor party and
Him
the
at a
wedding.
bachelor party. Woo. I think it's
and
a must.
the wedding. It's a must.
After that, one of my biggest regrets is not having Chris Moore at my wedding because I wouldn't have cared. I would have laughed. He was unbelievable.
He was out of control.
Okay. Now we have reached almost the halfway point of side B. This is where I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Nerd alert.
Spoiler alert.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, spoiler alert for the show The Night Of. And Night Of fans, join me and Joe in discussing right now. We are 3 episodes into The Night Of. 3 out of 8. It's an 8-part series, and this is it's not like if they have a good run here, they're going to break it out next year. This is it. It's almost like a long movie, if you will. It's a limited series. We've all seen what's happened now through episodes 1 through 3. A lot of character development. What I like about the show is it's very simple to understand while having a lot of moving pieces. Would you agree with that, Joe?
I would agree with that, yes.
Through 3 episodes, Joe, I want an answer documented.
Okay.
Who committed the murder?
I think the stepfather committed the murder.
The stepfather committed the murder, and I'll let you explain why. I just want these on document.
Mraz, who do you think committed the murder?
I believe it was one of the 2 gentlemen that was walking past the apartment right before Nas entered with the girl into her brownstone, the one who did not come back to the scene to speak to police. Because if you remember, and I'll let you speak on the stepfather's path, he stared up at the apartment, but he stared up towards the bedroom where she would eventually be murdered. And he also, when the friend comes back to the scene, says he saw them earlier and he's trying to put it on Nas. The cop asked him, who were you with? And he says he was by himself. When we as the viewer know he was not by himself, he was with that other gentleman. I think it was that other gentleman. Stepfather, give me reasons why.
Okay, now I can't take credit for this theory because you pointed it out and it was very intelligent of you.
Okay.
When they were at the beach and Nas asked about her dad.
Right.
She simply responded, he's okay, and then there was about 30 seconds of silence, you'd say?
About, yeah.
And right after the silence, she said, I can't be alone tonight.
She did say I can't be alone tonight.
Okay, then when Nas finally flees the scene, we see a man on a motorcycle in a black leather jacket, and we don't know who he is because he's also wearing a helmet with a visor. You cannot see, but they make eye contact.
Right.
Later on in episode 2, I believe this was, when they have the stepfather identify the body, he's wearing a similar black leather jacket. In addition, when he was given the picture and asked, is this your daughter? He first denies it and said, no, this is not her. The reason why I think he denied it is because he was in denial of what he just did.
Okay. I think that's a fair theory.
So I think there's a lot of things pointing towards the stepfather as the murderer.
Okay. So now, obviously, this show has done such a good job of laying everything out and really has you on the edge of the seat with the legal system and what's wrong with it in New York City and obviously the dangers he's facing in prison and the battles between lawyers and how lawyers need to get paid but want their clients and reasons they want to be on a case like this. There's so much there that they're cramming in here, but doing it in a way where you don't feel like it's rushed, which I think is great. Now, for all of those who have the theory that Nas himself in a drunken/drugged up stupor that we don't see in episode 1 ends up actually committing the murder, my argument to that would be, why no blood splatter on Nas at all? Okay? Now, if you look at the crime scene, her body's lying there, and they said there was 22 slash marks, and she was 22 years old. That was a part that shouldn't go unnoticed. Somebody had to have known she was 22, right? That was a little coincidence they dropped. Nas, who knows? But if Nas were to slash her, the way the body was all slashed, and the way they had blood splatter all over the walls and all over everything, why is there no blood splatter on Nas? And now, your argument back to me is going to be, well, how do we know he didn't shower quick and then pass out on the kitchen table? Well, if he showered quick, the blood on his hand from the earlier knife game they were playing on the hand would have washed away too.
Also, he never changed his clothes.
Never changed his clothes.
There was the same clothes, and there's no chance that he all of a sudden washed his clothes, and we didn't see that. That's not possible.
The only thing I would say is when he takes his clothes off to give to the officers at the precinct in episode 1, he does have scratch marks on his back, but that was from the passionate love, if you will.
Absolutely.
So his shirt could have been off when they murdered him, but he would have had blood.
But he still would have had blood on his pants.
He did not. He did not. So if it turns out that Nas really is the murderer when the show's all said and done, I would say a show that right now I love, and I think a lot of the country loves right now, would have a big time crack in it and a big time oversight.
And also another point that really shows that it really can't be Nas was the inhaler.
Right.
The inhaler also, which Nas is always walking around with because he has an asthma problem, had no blood on it.
That was the only piece of evidence on the mattress with no blood. It almost made you feel like
it was planted.
It was planted there. And Box gives it back to him, which actually could hurt Nas's case because if that's there in evidence and collected as evidence, it's going to be noted that that doesn't have blood on it. Something's happening here because now the DA has it, and Box, Detective Box, who had the original case, something isn't sitting right with him in the case. And Totoro, who is now currently lost Nas, Detective Stone, who's doing a great job with his role, there's something more coming with him, and especially the cat. Now, I've heard arguments with the back gate was left open because the cat went out, that the cat maybe has DNA on it, and Totoro's just brought it now to the shelter, holding it with gloves, and he finds out that it's going to get gassed in 10 days. I think we could all see it coming. Totoro's going to save this cat, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely going to keep that cat.
And the cat's going to play some kind of role. I don't know whether it's going to cure Totoro's feet, or I don't know.
His feet are disgusting, man. I'm so grossed out. And it's like every scene that he's in.
I get itchy thinking about it.
And everybody, have you noticed this also? Everybody's always asking about his feet.
Yes.
There hasn't been a single character that you don't see him interact with not ask about his feet.
Which is why the show is so wild, man, between the feet and everything. I can't describe. Now, listen, I love TV. I'm a couch potato. I didn't get this big not sitting there watching TV. I have a lot of shows I've liked. And we've discussed, and we've talked TV on this podcast before, how I'm not a big Better Call Saul fan, but love Breaking Bad and all this. I love the limited series, because the limited series, it's not a commitment.
You're in and you're out.
You're in and you're out. If you watch a show, like for instance, I'm watching Better Call Saul, and I'm waiting for the payoff. I might have to sit there 6 seasons to get a payoff that and I don't have the willpower to bail on. This is 8 episodes. If you watch the first episode, and the first episode was so detailed in the whole crime, and if it wasn't for you, great. Doesn't matter because you're going to have 7 more episodes. If you don't watch them, you don't watch them. But for those who do, you know you're going to have resolution here before the end of the summer, and that's the end of the show, and you love it. I love this idea of a limited series. It's great for binge watching if you haven't watched it yet and you want to go back and watch it, but I'm assuming anybody listening now is watching. But, I mean, just search the hashtag the night of on a night the show's on. It's all anybody's talking about. It's crazy.
I love everything about this show, and it really that means a lot and says a lot because, as you know, as probably the listeners know, I don't watch a lot of these shows. I'm not into these dramas, into these other shows that, people watch on a weekly basis. So the fact that I took the time, watched episode 1, it hooked me right in, and I love it. I love everything about it.
It's going to be really great to see how this thing plays out. And kudos to HBO. who does a great job with so many of their series. I mean, The Sopranos, I think, set the standard in TV.
Entourage.
I mean,
Boardwalk Empire.
Boardwalk Empire. But think about it. Sopranos was really the first one on HBO that came along and really planted the seed for many of these great shows. And some you may like, some you may
Curb.
not. This show has become an event. And its placement on Sunday nights and not doing this. A lot of these networks, I know Walking Dead, I think Walking Dead might wait, but there's a lot of these shows will come on during football season on Sunday nights.
That's what I hated about Boardwalk Empire. I couldn't stand it, man.
Right, so Sunday Night Football's on it, and you have good shows on it, and everybody's talking about the next day, and you may not have time to watch it. There's no TV on in the summer. There's no new network TV or anything like that. And football season is going to start that second weekend in September. They timed this show out so that it will end the Sunday night before Labor Day weekend. So you get in, get out. Labor Day weekend comes, college football's kicking off into the NFL. So now you have an event, if you're into the show, the next 5 weeks to look forward to, and next thing you know, it's football season. I think that's a great placement by HBO, and it hooks us all in. And it's a good show to debate and talk about. Because there's so many loose ends and so many elements that there's so much to discuss and break down, and you could actually make predictions like you would if you were watching a sport. Correct?
Absolutely. It's amazing. I really have no other words for this show because everything about it is great.
Great acting all around, great. So if you haven't seen it and you listen to it, we might have ruined some stuff for you. But again, we didn't ruin the ending because we don't know exactly what happened.
And to be honest, we were fair and gave a spoiler alert, so that's your fault if you listen.
But if you have watched this show and you have your own theories of your own that you think myself and Joe did not pick up on, you can follow Joe on Twitter
at Joe DCBS.
And you go follow me at Twitter at MrazCBS. We love talking the night of, so please come at us with your tweets. We'll discuss it all. Thank you so much for listening to 100 Permission Graded podcasts. We hope the next 100 are as special, if not, and I hope better than the first 100. Have a great weekend.